All right, public speaking. Public speaking is a two-word phrase, consists of public and speaking. Let's dissect this and see what exactly it means to be public speaking as a public speaker. Public is the part that defines the who listens to you, the audience, and whether they are present right in front of you or they are remote, sitting somewhere else, or watching your videos. Like for example, you are watching this video with me and I am speaking, and you are the public because you are the audience. So you don't have to be right in front of me. And the second part is speaking, which is what I define speaking as transformation or a transfer of ideas, knowledge, and thoughts, or even emotions in the form of words, in the form of speech to other people. That is, if you want to say something to someone, you're going to use speech as a means of conveying your ideas, transferring your ideas or emotions to other people in the form of speech. So combine both, public speaking. For example, if you are speaking to your children, that is public speaking. If you are speaking to a group of friends, that's public speaking as well. It doesn't always have to be in front of an audience, in a big hall, in a big room, and you're stuck a mic in front of you. It doesn't have to be. All speaking is public speaking. So when I learned about this, it changed the way I understood public speaking to a great extent. This actually makes everyone feel that they are public speakers inherently. We are all public speakers inherently. All of us, you, me, everybody. We all speak to each other, then we are public speakers. Every speech is a public speech, unless you are speaking to yourself. Or sometimes we speak to ourselves, or we also sometimes speak in terms of prayers. Suppose we sit in a corner and we meditate and we pray to God, or whatever our faith is. That is not public speaking. That is something that you do as part of your faith or your following or whatever it is. So all other things is public speaking. Suppose if you are, as I told you, if you are speaking to, let's say, that's our person there sneezing, probably you heard her cat sneeze. That is not public speaking, by the way. All right. Let's say, okay, let's get back to Gary Halbert. Is considered as one of the most influential persons in the history of direct marketing. And Gary Halbert says there are 3 things in order to make money. And some of you and people like us, we also use public speaking as a means of making money. So that's where Gary Halbert's 3 things comes into picture. Number 1, Gary says you need to have a product or a service. Number 2, you need to have something known as a sales pitch. And number 3, you need to have a delivery system, the way you deliver your sales pitch. So public speakers use their speech as their delivery, or as the delivery system. And I also had the honor of learning with. I stand on the shoulders of giants in the industry, and I was honored and blessed to have worked with and mentored by people like Sean Stephenson and Brendan Bouchard and people like Tony Robbins, and there's so many to list here, but these are some of the people that I have worked with and have learned from, and all of these are great speakers. Why? Because they bring in their personality, they bring in their experience, they bring in the most easier thing to do in public speaking, which is called teaching. If you want to become a public speaker, you don't start with by preparing a speech. You start with teaching. A school teacher, for example, is a public speaker, but the school teacher doesn't know that he or she is a public speaker. Similarly, you too can start your public speaking career or speak to anyone in public or become a public speaker so easily by thinking, teaching instead of speaking. So if you know your topic, if you know your subject, if you are thorough in your message, if you have constructed your message well, you can easily become a public speaker by starting teaching about your topics. And Sheen says he has, I remember him saying three things that amateur speakers do that are not good for their speaking careers, or the three mistakes that people should avoid when they are starting their their career or as a public speaker. Number one is apologizing or being sorry, not for being sorry for what they did, being sorry or apologizing for their speaking abilities. We have all seen people going up on stage and they start their speech with apologizing, like, I'm sorry, I'm not a public speaker, or I'm so nervous and I don't know what to speak. What the people are thinking? The people are thinking that this is not a professional speaker, and I don't know what I'm going to learn from this shaky person up there. So that's one thing that everybody should avoid, apologizing for your speaking abilities. No one is going to understand that you're nervous, no one, unless you tell them. Every speaker, every great speaker, I have worked with so many different speakers, I've seen so many speakers on stages, and I've worked with so many people, and I also speak on stages. All speakers do get nervous before they go in front of an audience. That's the natural process that happens inside the body. Everyone, it's also called as performance anxiety, which is actually good because your body is preparing you to go and face this big task up there. Let's say, let me give you an example. Let's say you're traveling in an airplane and you're just seated in the plane, and the pilot starts addressing you on the PA system, and the pilot says, "Look, I'm so sorry, I ended up in this seat here today. I have not had enough sleep last night, and I have drunk too much. I don't know where I am sitting. And anyway, you don't have to worry. We'll start the plane in 10 minutes and we'll be in the air in 15 minutes from now. So you're going to get, I'm not going to sit there. I'm going to go out of this flight immediately." So that's way of, when someone says like that, when a pilot says like that, people are going to think that he is being truthful. People are going to think that this is not a professional person, and I cannot let my life in the hands of such an unprofessional person. The same thing happens when you are speaking on stage and when you start apologizing for your speaking abilities. You don't have to say anything of those unless you want to sound like an unprofessional speaker. So number two is, this is very, very common in certain parts of the world, is hiding behind the podium. You see that podium, the desk on the on stages that people use, and these are probably used by politicians most often. So if you want to be a professional public speaker and you speak for a living, or you speak for making money off the stage, push the podium away. I once had I was sitting in the audience of a huge conference. 2,000-3,000 people were present in the audience, and there was this guy who was a very famous and successful businessman. He has 400-500 businesses, stores. He runs a chain store, retail outlet or something, and he is very successful. He has made a lot of money and he has built a system, but he is not a professional speaker. How did I know? He went on the stage. He had brought a bunch of papers, notes in his hands. He stood behind the podium and started speaking. We would all love to hear his story, but what happened was he started reading from his notes. Anyone could have done that. He could have just had someone prepare a speech for him and had someone else come and read out the story. Everybody could have learned that way. And this fellow, there were about 10-12 pages in his hands, and he started reading one after the other. Then when he came to the 12th page, we thought everyone was like, they're looking elsewhere and they're not paying attention, because nobody wants to hear pages upon pages upon pages of content they could have read somewhere else in their spare time, not hear someone speak. So after this 12th page was over, everybody thought, like we all thought, okay, At least this is going to end now. So we started with giving a big round of applause and expected the speaker, so-called, to conclude his speech, and we were awaiting the next speaker, but that's not what happened. The speaker turned all the pages around, started again, because he had notes on the back side of each and every pages, all these 12 pages. So that was so annoying in a way, because when you hide behind a podium, people are not able to see your posture, people are not able to get your body language, because a lot of message is conveyed using body language. So people will not be able to observe you behind the podium. So that's the mistake number 2 is hiding behind the podium. If you want to become a professional speaker, ditch the podium and take the stage. And my friend Bo Eason, with whom I have had the chance to work with in one of the conferences, also teaches about how to own the stage, or own the hall or the room where you are speaking. What he suggests is coming 5 or 10 minutes before the conference or before your speech starts, and going ahead and making a ritchie of the entire hall, the stage or the stadium, wherever your speech is organized, and get to know people, get to know the place physically. I mean, get to know that, okay, this is a table here, here's the wall, and here are the doors and everything, so that you get a feel of being present in that environment, both physically and mentally. Suppose if I ask you to say something or give a small speech in your own home, it's easier to do in your own home than it is to give a speech in front of others in a different setting or a different environment. And what we teach at our events also to our students is to make sure or imagine in your minds that you're in your own home, you're sitting in your favorite couch, and you're talking to groups of friends and relatives that are eager to listen to what you say. Instead of thinking the audience are here to judge me, or I may mess up, or I get tongue-tied, all these things, if you start focusing on them, they start happening. And if you start focusing on teaching and speaking to known group of friends and relatives who are there to appreciate what you have got, you focus on transferring your thoughts into teachings, then everything will change. Believe me on this. And number 3, the mistake number 3 that amateur speakers do is using a lot of jargon, or using a lot of PowerPoint slides to get their message across. And I have also seen some people actually reading out of their PowerPoint slides, which is a big no-no if you want to be a professional speaker. So these are the thoughts that I thought I will convey to the group here, convey to my audience here, and hope this helps you. And if you have any questions, this is just some of the thoughts that I want to share with you for the term public speaking. So if you have any questions about public speaking, or if you want to share your thoughts, if you want to agree to what I say or argue with me about what I said, feel free to have your questions below. I'll see and answer as many questions as I possibly can. And also, since I'm a seminar person myself, I hope we both will see each other someday, meet somewhere, and until then, keep smiling, believe in yourself, and get all the best things in life.